we in the biggest money revolution the world has ever seen. Bitcoin, gold and silver is the only thing you need to buy. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the only form of real money. You can find more gold underground. You can print more dollars. You can never make another Bitcoin. 9 guys came in and they put a gun to my dad's face, in my dad's mouth. And they basically said to him, give us Kruger Rands or we're going to kill you.
Let's face it, life is complicated, and so is the YouTube algorithm. We put so much effort into each of these episodes, and I honestly love what I do. And if you could do the smallest favor for me, it'll be quicker than making a cup of coffee. Just hit that subscribe button or like and follow on the audio channels. Thank you so much. So, what the heck is numismatics?
So it does sound like a bit of a complicated name, but it's actually very simple. Numismatics is basically the study or collection of coins or banknotes, both pre-reserve bank and post-reserve bank. And basically it's anything to do with minted coins, so something that's gold or silver that's come out from a mint, or bullion, bars and collectibles like that. But so anyone who knows anything about coins or banknotes, we like to refer to them as a numismatist, because they basically study and deal in that.
Okay. And I mean, it's quite a odd industry to get involved in. Were you always interested in coins?
I never always thought I was going to go into coins or starting up a numismatic auction house. Obviously, once I left school, I started with my LLB law degree, which wasn't really for me. I ended up dropping out of my LLB law degree and going on to business sciences. But all the time while I was studying, I was working for the family business, which was actually started by my grandfather in 1967. He was one of the first guys in South Africa to sell Kruger Rands. He was actually a locksmith, and they asked him to go open up one of the big vault doors, and he spotted all the coins in there, and he actually got given one as a gift. So later that day, he went home and he started just looking at every coin he had, and he put them in the bath and he started scrubbing them up and selling them for more than what he would pay for them. And he said, this might be a bit of a lucrative opportunity here. And that's how he started. So it's always been in my blood. I've always loved it. I've always really understood the numismatic side of it. Obviously, South Africa, we've got deep history, and all of our coins tell a story. And there's different mintage figures for every coin, and that obviously creates a scarcity value to them. But no, sorry, going back to your question, I didn't always think I was going to go into coins, but I've always had a love for them, and I'm so happy I did.
Talking about family, you had quite a hectic story coming out of school into varsity. Your dad was shot.
Yeah. So to go on that, I'll give you a quick background of what actually happened. A lot of people have actually asked me, well, what actually happened that day. So we had a few different Kruger Rand stores at the time. We had just moved our store from Killarney Mall to Kyalami Corner, and my dad was actually still busy setting up the store in Kyalami Corner. So it didn't have any stock in. We were actually building the strong room and the safe rooms in the back still. So we had nothing there. And 9 guys came in and they put a gun to my dad's face, in my dad's mouth. And they basically said to him, give us Kruger Rands or we're going to kill you. And my dad said, listen, I've got no Kruger Rands here, so do your worst. And my dad, being my dad, decided to fight. He saw no way out of it. They had a gun in his mouth. So while he started fighting with the guys, the one guy lost his temper and shot my dad through his mouth, out the back of his skull. It took out all of his teeth, paralyzed his tongue, took out his carotid artery, and took out the back of his skull. So they actually airlifted him from the parking lot at Kyalami Corner and landed. Obviously they took him to Mill Park Hospital. They got actually the best trauma unit in South Africa, and they worked wonders on my dad. They'd actually pronounced him dead in the helicopter, and when he arrived at Mill Park, they put stents in the back. I don't actually know all how it works, but just to keep the blood flowing to his brain, because he hadn't had blood to his brain for so long. And he made it. And he's back to normal these days. I don't know if you saw him at the office the other day when you popped past.
No, he wasn't in it.
But
Unfortunately.
so he looks 100%, he sounds 100%, he is 100%. Just his voice is you can't really hear him too well. It's a bit raspy, and that's obviously because he was on life support and he had a tracheotomy for his just to be able to breathe. His mouth was so swollen from the damage from the bullet that there was no ways of oxygen coming in or out his mouth. Or so yeah, he's 100%. He just has a bit of a raspy voice these days, and now he gets to tell everyone he's bulletproof. And he has used that line more than a few times, I promise you.
But that's amazing that he actually survived something like that.
No, it's actually still doesn't even feel real. It was a very scary time, and I still have PTSD from it. My phone rings, and that's my mom or my dad. I think what's wrong. I'm always like a constant. It affects you. I actually was the first person to arrive on scene when my dad was shot, because we lived at the time in Kailami Estates. So I rushed across the road. I was actually supposed to be working that morning, but that's the night before I met my girlfriend, the girl I'm still with today, almost 8 years later. And so I'd met her, so I wasn't in setting up, and so I still felt almost, I should have been there. Things could have been different, maybe settled the situation down, whatever. But so I found him, and obviously with where he was shot, the blood, and it was terrible. So it does take a big impact on you. After that, I had to start like antidepressants just to calm myself down, or anti-anxiety medication. I had to go to the doctor and get medicated, just because every time my phone would ring, I'd have a panic attack.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So everything plays a role.
And I can imagine when when you get that news at first, you only expect the worst. When you hear someone's been shot, you don't think, oh, they're going to
Yeah, they wouldn't even tell me. They said, your dad's been shot. But I said, is he okay? They said, just get you. Because no one actually knew. No one even knew where he had been shot, how many times he had been shot, because there was just so much blood. And they couldn't work it out, at the time, till the paramedics eventually got there and they airlifted him. But it was quite an event.
So the coin industry is quite a dangerous one.
So the problem is we live in South Africa. We know it's a crime, obviously riddled country, and the value of a life is 1,000 rand. Someone will kill you for 1,000 rand in this country. It's a lot of money to some people. So when you're dealing in Kruger Rands, today's spot or yesterday the market's closed at about 60,600 rand a coin. So one coin is worth that, and if you've got 10 coins, it's 600,000 rand. So what people are willing to do for that is, they'll kill you.
So you started as the smallest auction house in South Africa. You started about 2 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. So we started Bassani's auction house about two years ago now, and we started as the smallest auction house in South Africa, and 2 years later we are now the biggest numismatic auction house in Africa. So we started with one auction a month, and then when we started with 2 auctions a month, I thought we were really pumping. Now we're up to 6 auctions a week. So every single day besides a Friday, we've got an auction live on the platform. Plus we've got a signature and a confirmation auction once a month. And that's where you see 500,000 and 1 million rand coins selling. But not just one of them. You see a whole auction lineup of them, and you see what people are actually willing to pay on this stuff. So we've done a lot of great price discovery in the last couple of years, and found a lot of new guys looking for new types of investments. Coins are great because there's no capital gains on coins. Coins form part of your personal use assets class. And on your personal use asset class, there's no income tax nor capital gains payable. So for wealth preservation and just a new cohort of investors, coins is a great alternate investment scheme.
So where would you be paying capital gains tax? Because I know some people will know what capital gains tax is, and some people have no idea.
So basically, on the profit of something. If you buy something for 400 rand and sell it for 600 rand, you've made 200 rand profit. So you should pay tax on what your earnings are. But obviously, once something forms part of your personal use asset class, because it is a product that's part of your personal collection, you don't pay that. So a nice, easy way of understanding it is you get 2 forms of Kruger Rands as well. You get bullion strike Kruger Rands, and you get proof strike Kruger Rands. So bullion Kruger Rands, you can get much closer to the spot price, probably 2 or 3% usually about what the dealers make on a Kruger Rand. So you can get that gold very close to the spot price, but then proof gold carries quite a premium. So for an example, at the moment, a 10th ounce of gold is selling price is about 6,300 Rand an ounce, and for a 10th ounce. And if you're buying a proof right now from the South African Mint, it's about 12,500 Rand. So double the price, but for the same amount of gold. So it's really expensive and more expensive to get the proofs in your collection, and that's why they're classed as your items and not as you're not banking on the gold price movement. So on bullion coins, obviously your full growth will be based on the gold price because you're only paying like a small percent over the gold price. But that you are liable for bullion to pay capital gains on. So that's why a lot of the market has also moved over to the proof side of the market, because you pay no taxes on it, and you can also travel. So leaving the country now, I think they've dropped it all the way to, you're allowed taking 25,000 Rand with you in cash. Kruger Rands, because the value is now over 25,000 Rand for a coin, you're not even allowed to move with Kruger Rand anymore. You used to be able to take 1 to 3 per person for gifts if you want to take them out the country. You can no longer do that. But with proof Kruger Rands, you can, because proof Kruger Rands are personal use assets and they belong to you. They're not bullion related items. So if you go to the airport with 200 proof Kruger Rands and you want to leave the country with it, no problem. If you go with 200 bullion Kruger Rands, there's trouble.
So if I had a Kruger Rand I'm testing your knowledge here, but let's say 2000, I bought myself a Kruger Rand. How much would that Kruger Rand be worth today compared to what it was back then?
So the rule of thumb on gold is it doubles every 5 years. Okay. We've seen a lot more growth in gold recently. Obviously, when there's international turmoil and wars going on, that's the safe haven for the world is gold. But not to take away from gold, I think a lot of people are missing out on silver. Silver is probably the most underrated asset on earth at the moment, in my opinion, besides by Bitcoin. But silver's price has been manipulated for years and years, and everyone knows how the silver price has been manipulated. If we're talking mining terms, underground, there's only 8 to 9 times more silver than gold. So if we look at every bit an ounce of metal on this planet of silver and gold underground, there should only be 9 times more silver than gold, right? So the price ratio should be a lot closer. Whereas if you look at what the price ratios gold and silver are sitting at, it's sitting at about 88 to 90 to 1. So you need 88 silver ounces to buy 1 gold ounce. But underground, it's 8 to 1. So you should be able to trade 8 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. So like when in 2011, silver did like a quadruple overnight in price. And there were a lot of instant overnight billionaires because people were, converting their silver into gold, and overnight got 4 times more gold for their silver. So silver right now is performing better. It started moving, obviously, because gold has moved up so much. It's like a slingshot effect that has to kind of catch up. But today we're using so much silver. The world's growing more and more technologically advanced. Every day that we go on, we've got more electric cars, we've got more solar panels, and all of these items require conductors. Conductors, obviously, to make the products work. So every electric car uses about 2 ounces of silver, and every solar panel uses about 18 grams of silver for the conduction. And in the heyday, they used to pull out gold. Used to be used as a conductor in keyboards and stuff like that. They used to pull the gold out. They don't sit and do that with silver. So we're losing a lot of silver in trash heaps and trash piles, and we're using more silver today than we are of gold. Gold used to be used, but it's too expensive now. So the world is using up our silver reserves without even realizing it. And the realistic price point for silver is, like I said, 8 to 9 to 1 to gold. So if we take the gold price of 60,000 Rand and divide it by 8 to 9, that should be what silver should be per ounce. Silver's not. Silver's at about $34 an ounce at the moment, which is, it's actually moved up quite a bit now, but it's low. So in my biased opinion, I'd say silver is a great investment. And if you're younger, rather go for silver than gold because you've got years to hold it. And And obviously, you don't expect to become a millionaire overnight. It's about consistency, buying every single month, putting it away, and holding. That's how you earn compounding effects of money, is by holding years in the market. Don't try to time the market. Have time in the market.
Yeah. Why is there such a big difference? Why is gold seen as...
There's no answer. That's why it is so manipulated, because the silver price is being manipulated so people can use it as a conductor at a fair price for all their products. But once the world realizes what's going on with silver, it's really going to run. So I've been stacking silver for years now, and I will continue to stack silver because it's cheap still. You can buy a few ounces like you actually did.
I
You
did.
came past the office not so long ago, last week.
Last
That was
week.
last week. You came past the office and I showed you some gold and I showed you silver and I showed you how it all kind of works, and you decided to put some away. But it's about keeping that silver now for the next 10 years and buying more over the next 10 years. And, like I say to everyone says, is it worth buying? I said, what are you comparing it to? Everyone goes and spends their money on dates. They spend their money on smoking. They spend their money on going to parties or, cars.
Drinks, holiday.
Everyone wants to drive an M140 or this or that, and they go and overextend themselves, or and if you look what you spend on that, if you're just taking half of that every month and put it into silver for the last 5 years, I think you'd be a lot happier. And in 10 years from now, I think you're going to be extremely happy that you did that. But it just takes a small choice every single month and that consistency, and that's how you'll really build up awesome reserves.
So how did you build this momentum? So you started Bassani's auction house, and you started as the smallest in South Africa and obviously Africa. How did you start getting a bit of momentum and some clients in such a niche market?
So a very good friend of mine and someone I actually look up to, he taught me about the chicken and the egg. I don't know if you know about the chicken and the egg.
I don't.
So you have a chicken and you have an egg, right? You can't have an egg without the chicken, and you can't have a chicken without the egg, right? You need the chicken to hatch from the egg, and that becomes a chicken. So you kind of need both, and the same goes for business. You either have the stock, so there's guys that have stock, or there's guys that have all the clients. But you need the stock to bring the clients, and you need the clients so you can bring more stock, right? So we were quite lucky. I know, obviously, I'd been involved in the coin industry for years, and I know all the SAND authorized dealers in the country. So I was able to quite quickly pool a good amount of stock together and realize where I could pull on, or which dealers in the country I could pull on to ensure that I had the stock needed for the auctions. And then basically, bringing new people into the market, but that doesn't happen overnight. So what we initially set out to do was to put out the best coins that had been seen on the local market in some time, and host auctions that had never been done in South Africa. So we have big international competition where most of the coins actually get sent. But if you can prove that you can sell South African coins in South Africa for more than you can internationally, all those coins start coming your way. So it was just really about our first couple auctions proving that we had the right market and the right buyers for people to bring their stock. And as soon as you can prove that, the world's yours. I've always been scared to grow the business too fast. I've always been the one to say, let's hold the brakes. Listen, we're not ready for another auction yet, but we've the business takes its own form, and every time we grew and I thought we couldn't grow, and I said, listen, no, we can't put another auction out a week. I want to know that there's stock for the next auction coming up in 2 weeks or whatever. But the more we've been putting out, the response has been so great that we're able to keep growing, and the more we put out, the more new clients sign up. So yes, the stock's getting bigger, but the clientele's growing as well. So that's what I've really been trying to do, is grow the numismatic industry and bring in a new cohort of investors. If you've got 5 coins, for an example, we strike 5 coins today of a new gold coin, and you've got 3 people who want to buy the coin, there's not going to be much price action. You might not even sell the 5. But if you make 5 coins today and you're able to rally up 50 guys who want the coin, then you're going to see some price action on those 5 coins. Everybody has to fight for one. But if you've only got 3 guys fighting for 5 coins, you're not going to see much fighting. So it's all about growing the industry, but growing people's knowledge as well, letting people understand how low our mintage figures are. South African coins have some of the lowest mintage figures in the world. You compare South African coins to American coins or German coins, their coins go for 10 times the price of ours because of their scarcity. And the mintage figures are 10 times higher, but they have 10 times the amount of buyers. In South Africa, our numismatic market's small. And when people end up realizing how small and lucrative the market is, I think a lot more people will get involved. Like if you look at, for an example, and I know this cannot sound like anything to you, but an 1893 half point, which is a gold coin made in South Africa in 1893, that was struck in mint state, and to have one of those coins in mint state today, there's only 5 that exist. The South African single 9 was sold earlier this year. That coin sold for 41 million rand, and people don't even know that this is happening on a daily basis, and that these coins are out there and exist, and people want these coins in their collection, and they're actually so desired. So yeah, it's an interesting space for sure, but to grow, we've been also spending a lot of money on marketing. We like to do a lot of press releases and getting information out through sponsored articles. That's been really great for us. And then, people pick up what you're doing and your passion and invite you on shows. We've been on CakeNet, we've been on Bait Soccer, we're on, a different radio station every single week. I've got another great guy that's part of the team. He's a TikTok influencer. He's got over 200,000 followers on TikTok, and he makes daily content for us as well. And it's you just need a great team. I think that's where we really got it right, is we've got a good team. You can't take on businesses by yourself. I have a problem. I like doing everything myself, but there's only so much you actually can do without not focusing your attention on the correct things that actually matter most for what you should be doing. So what I'd say to anyone is get a great team, because when you're in business, you're fighting against other teams. So if you think you're going to fight a team by yourself, you're not. So get yourself a strong team, work hard as a team, know how to work as a team, and that team is your business, and you're fighting other teams, and that's other businesses.
I think a lot of people are scared to share information with other people. They want to keep all the knowledge to themselves, and they want to know how to do everything. But like you say, then you start, you're trying to tick off all these boxes like a checklist, and the bigger picture is kind of getting a little bit blurrier and a little 100%. Bit blurrier.
You got to stay focused all the time, and what our aim is, what we're actually trying to achieve here. And if someone's not constantly working on those goals, you're not going to be achieving them. So everyone needs to know what their role is, what they're meant to do, and as a team, you can really do more than you actually think you can. And I've been very lucky. We've got an amazing team.
But also, I think time comes into play. I mean, you and I spoke about it off camera the other day, but since school, I mean, next year is 5 months away, and that's our 10-year reunion. And it doesn't feel like 10 years. Like when you were in school, each day felt like a month. Like you waited for your lesson to be over till the bell went, till you had break and lunch and whatever. Now, lunch comes at work and you're like, oh my word, I haven't got enough done. Like this day is just flying past. And I think if you're trying to tick off too many boxes at the same time, your time just kind of goes away from you.
Not going to do anything. Yeah.
I mean, I actually had a discussion with my mom the other day, because I was very overwhelmed. I was trying to do the podcast. I was trying to keep up my training with running, and trying to look for some marathons, trying to play paddle every week, trying to see mates, trying to keep a healthy relationship with my girlfriend, like family time, all these things, work, podcast, and like I was so overwhelmed. And my mom said, you actually kind of need to focus on a few things. Sometimes you need to drop one thing for the other thing. It doesn't mean that you drop it completely. It doesn't mean that if I do the podcast, I've got to quit my job, but sometimes you maybe have to do less of one thing in order to do
Can't
another
do it
thing
all.
for a period of time. Otherwise, the overwhelm.
Yeah, myself, I've lost. I love going to gym and doing all of that, but I've only just got back into it recently. The last 2 years, I found that I put everything into work that I actually forgot about also eating right and going to gym, and that's something that's fallen off for me. But I'm getting back on that now. But I don't know. I put so much time into building the business, but I wouldn't change it for any other way. You know what I mean? I'm glad I spent all that time doing what I was doing, and now I can go twice a week maybe to the gym and start getting things sorted. But I completely agree with you. You can't be the best at everything, and you can't do everything all the time. You got to kind of pick what you're going to do most, and then everything else kind of takes the back seat. But see what you want, to achieve, and go for it.
I mean, you see these Sushi guys on Instagram who, they get up at 5 o'clock, they go for a run, then they're in the gym, then they're ice bathing, then they're crushing it at work. Like, they're doing everything, but that can't be a nice way to actually, like a fulfilling way to live your life, in my opinion, at least.
I wish. I wish I could get up at 5 and go to gym before work and do all of that. But we've got auctions every single evening. They start at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then obviously in the day you've got the work to get out the next auctions, and so I'm so constantly busy. But yeah, I take my hat off to the guys that are able to do that and still keep their eye on the ball at work. But I've thrown everything into work. But you lose a lot of balance in your life. You lose out on a lot of. I used to love going out and going for a good drink and seeing this guy, seeing that guy. But then you overdo it on a Friday night. It messes your whole Saturday up. And you feel lazy on a Saturday. It messes your whole Sunday up, and you almost start the week in a bad groove. So you just gotta choose what you're kind of going for. But you do need to make sure you've got a good work-life balance. Otherwise, you're gonna just tire yourself out. I felt exhausted at times, and you actually just got to take a step back and say, listen, it's 9 o'clock at night now. Let me watch half an hour of a movie or something and just get my mind off everything, because you also can't just work constantly. But if you like what you're doing, it's difficult because I love what I do.
Yes.
So for me, working's not like working really either, because I enjoy closing deals. That's like a thrill for me. I enjoy bringing in a consignment. That's fun. I enjoy then once the consignment comes in, I could sit all night going through it, just looking at like what this guy's collection's about, or so. But your role changes a lot as well. My role in the beginning was with the business, you kind of everything and everyone. Now I'm able to have a meeting and have a bit of time to get deals over the line and speak to clients more. So you can actually do more deals because you're doing less admin work, So everything has its time and place.
But it sounds like also you've gotten better at delegating.
And that's what you just said, super important. I haven't been good at in the past of delegating, but I've been taught to get better, because a team is what you need, and your people are actually a lot more capable than you think. You just got to kind of tell them what you want done, and they'll find a way. They'll figure it out. They'll do it. So yeah, you got to delegate, and you got to be a leader, and kind of get everyone doing what's most important for you to all mesh together and work well as a team. And like I said, as a team, you're a lot more powerful than fighting one person. So anyone else or new people to the market, they still got to get their team working and that machine in motion.
And I think sometimes it's quite a cliche, but one rotten apple kind of spoils the whole thing. And I find that too. I find that, at work or even just among friends, when you have one negative person, even you can be as positive as you want, but if you spend too much time around that person, like all of a sudden your day starts becoming a bit more negative. You start complaining a little bit more.
Yeah. I know what I want. So when I get into the office in the morning, I'm doing what I want. I know what I want to do. You're either on our wavelength or you're not. So, but that's why we're blessed. My team, is incredible, and everyone's on the same journey. Everyone wants to see us at the top. When we started the business, I told everyone, we're going to be the number one numismatic auction house in South Africa, let alone Africa. And I said, we're taking it, we're going to do this X, Y, and Z. And you zoom 2 years later, and you've done it. But now, our targets are much bigger, and we're going for our next set of things. But you have to be good at planning. You have to be good at pre-planning. We're arranging a few big things already now for next year. But if we don't start planning and getting it in action now, it's not going to be what we want it to be next year. So it's not only about doing what you do and looking back, it's about looking forward as well, because you've got to see where you want to be and what you want to do, and just keep focused on that vision. If you fall off or you stop trying, someone else is trying, your spot's going to get taken.
In order, though, to become Africa's largest numismatics house, clients must have trusted you, because people, I'm sure, with scams and stuff like that, if you've got a valuable coin, you don't want to go to the wrong person and they say, oh, this isn't really worth anything, let me give you a small amount, and actually it's a very valuable.
So a big thing that actually really helped us with that is, obviously, I had a small name in the industry before, but a lot of the big guys knew me. So on the stock front, it was nice, but then you got to let people spend money on your platform, pay you, and trust that you're going to send the stock afterwards. So I joined an organization called SAND, which is the South African Association of Numismatic Dealers, and that governs and regulates coin, gold, silver, and numismatic buying and selling in South Africa. So if you're able to join SAND, it basically says that you are a reputable dealer. So you can go onto SAND's website and Google any coin dealer or gold dealer in the country and see if they are part of SAND. They're a reputable dealer, and you won't be getting ripped off. So by joining SAND, obviously that came with a lot of connections, and everyone who knows the organization trusted us off the bat. And then word of mouth spreads fast. Word of mouth is actually, probably one of your biggest things. Everyone talks. Everyone, you and I are talking right now, and if you're buying something and you're happy with the service, or you got a good product, or you got a good price, you're going to tell someone. So just kind of do what you do it well, and the word will spread.
So if I had to, because I actually am in this situation now, but I have no idea how valuable these coins are, but I'm not inherited, my grandpa's still around, but he gave me like a tin of coins, like quite old coins. Some of them have been a little bit scruffed up and whatever. If I'm sitting in that situation, what, if I trust you and I'm like, cool, I want to go to Bassani's auction house, I trust them, like, what are some tips for me to make sure that those coins are still valuable by the time I give them to you?
Don't clean your coins. Never clean a coin. Lots of people make that mistake. They think that by cleaning a coin, you're making it look better and look shinier, which actually it works the opposite way. So if you've got a coin and you see it's being cleaned, it'll actually grade as polished, or surface hairlines or cleaned, and that ruins the coin. You want the coin in its most natural looking form, basically how it was minted or pressed. And if it's got any damage, leave it. Don't try and clean it or clean the marks off the coin, because you actually damage it further. So my first bit of advice would be to obviously keep your coins how you found them. Don't try and clean them or dip them, or make them look nice and shiny to sell them for more. And then secondly, it's very easy. You can take photos of them, and we have a designated or dedicated WhatsApp business line that anyone can send photos of their coins to, and we can give you kind of estimates and let you know what your stuff's worth, and if it's something that we would put on auction or get on auction for you, and kind of what you're looking at getting. And we can also assist you with, if you've got something really special, then it needs to get graded before it goes on auction. There is a local grading company in South Africa, which is SANGS. Then you got obviously international grading houses like NGC. So obviously, depending on what the coin is, we'll get it graded for you, put it on auction. But yeah, like I said, if anyone's sitting at home with coins that they've inherited, do not clean them, please. You won't believe what I've seen there.
And how do you know? I mean, maybe you don't know, but how do you suspect that maybe your coin could be valuable?
Okay. The year. So you want to be looking for earlier years. South African coins, we've got coins that are called your ZAR coins, which is Suid-Afrikaanse Republic, and that runs from 1892 to 1902 with your Velfbond, right? So any coins in those years are made of silver. If they silver or gold, if they're not obviously the penny, but those coins all kind of have value. And when I say all have value, it all comes down to condition. But you never know. You could be sitting with a Sammy Marks Tiki, and that's a 550,000 rand coin. You could be sitting with a 99 from 1898. That's a 1 to 2 million rand coin. You could be sitting with the Burgerspont coarse beard or fine beard. Those are 500 to a million rand a coin, which are big coins. And you even get the silver coins. You get a 5 shilling from 1892 as well, which is a ZAR coin, which was actually struck in Berlin for us at the time. And then we had 2 varieties. You get the Oxwagon on the coin has 2 shafts, so that's called the double shaft, which is our scarce variety, which was struck in Berlin. And then we have another variety that was struck in South Africa, which is called the single shaft variety, which is actually the cheaper one. So there's a lot to look for in the coins. Every coin's different. And then obviously you get your shillings and your 2 shillings, your 2.5 shillings, your tickies, your sixpences, your pennies. And every coin has a different year, which was super collectible. Or in there's a lot of fun now. So a lot of people can understand it in terms of Pokemon cards. I don't know if you've seen in America, a lot of people get their coins, their cards graded. And it shows you like a scoring and what it scores. Like, I don't know if you've seen Logan Paul's got that card he wears around his neck, and he goes and gets it PSA. It's a PSA 10, so that's the scoring of how good quality the card is. So coins is the exact same. You get them graded. You figure out what the quality of the coin is, how good the strike is, and how perfect it is. And the coins that are in the highest grade sell for the most. So you can have, for an example, a Feldpond in a details grade. So if it's not in a grade, it's a 70,000 rand coin. In the highest grade, it's over 1 million rand, and it's the same coin. You put them next to each other to a layman, and it'll look the exact same. But just the small, slight differences and scratches and notes on that coin turn it from a 70,000 rand coin to a 1 million rand coin.
So you mentioned a bit earlier Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, gold and silver is the only thing you need to buy. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the only form of real money. You can find more gold underground. You can print more dollars. You can never make another Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin on Earth. It's the only deflationary asset on Earth. Like I said, you can find more gold, you can print more money. You're not going to make more Bitcoin. And Bitcoin gets lost every single day. There's wallets that get lost. So it's a deflationary asset to start with, but it's real money. You're a smart guy. Can you tell me the difference between money and currency?
Sure, now you've labeled me as a smart guy, so I don't really want to get this wrong. Sure, I'd say that currency is physical, whereas money isn't.
Okay, but what is the difference between currency? You can speak to the smartest guys and they don't actually even know what money is.
Yeah.
So what is money? I'm putting you on the spot here.
You are. Yeah, help me out.
So currency, like fiat currency, is a dollar or a rand. It's something that you can spend, right? But currency doesn't go up in value. Your rands depreciate. Your rands are worth less and less and less as the months and years go on. Same with your dollars. They printed. So currency is a form of exchange. It's just for me to buy this cup of coffee. But you're not going to ever make money stacking currency. Currency is made for you to get poor, whereas money is made for you to grow. So money is something that grows year on year, something that has more buying power year on year. So we can consider Bitcoin money. We can consider gold money. Why? Because it's a proper investment and it grows year on year. Same as if you're comparing it to the dollar, for an example, right? So money is something that grows, whereas currency. So Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin isn't currency. Bitcoin isn't just a medium of exchange. Bitcoin isn't just needed for me to pay you and me to receive money from you or pay you. Bitcoin is actual money and it grows. And once people actually do their own research on Bitcoin and really understand it, they'll actually realize we're in the biggest money revolution the world has ever seen. When everyone used to trade in gold and silver, and I'm talking about way back when. Then everyone came up with, then the cash started, and everyone's like, what? Like, this is crazy. This is a piece of paper, but this piece of paper, we're paying each other with it, right? Then magic internet money started, we had bank accounts. People could pay with numbers on the screen. Now everyone had to work out, like, that's not money, right? Or that's not currency. How can you how can you send money without me touching it or holding it? It's not tangible. This doesn't exist. Then credit cards came out, and you could also just flip, and now tapping, and the world changes and the money revolutions happen. So we went from the gold and the tangible money, then banknotes, to electronic money, and then Bitcoin popped up, and everyone said, "No, what is this? This is really like a Ponzi, and this is really rubbish now." And everyone says it's a bubble and it's gonna burst, but I've got a bubble to burst for everyone. Bitcoin's going to go, in my opinion, a lot further than people think. In the next 5 years, I see it easily breaking $1 million a coin. In the next 15 to 20 years, at least $15 to $20 million a coin. And right now, you're still able to be not easily, but you're still able to be a whole coiner. And what a whole coiner status is someone who's able to own a full Bitcoin. And right now, I'd say it's still, not for most people, but it's still attainable to every month work towards putting a bit of Bitcoin away and building up to a full Bitcoin. Bitcoin's now over 2 million rand a coin. But in a few years from now, it's going to be completely unattainable. No one is going to be able to afford a full Bitcoin. When it's $1 million or $1.2 million a coin, that's going to be 25 million rand a coin, depending on the exchange rate or if we're in hyperinflation or not. But those are all things that will come into play. But it's not going to be easy to have a whole coin. And when our grandkids are our age, I can guarantee you it's going to be pretty much impossible. So what I would say is my biased financial advice is silver, gold, and Bitcoin. Personally, I spend all of my savings every single month on Bitcoin, and I have been doing it now for a while. But there's no comparison. There's nothing that you can compare Bitcoin to. It's been the number one performing asset on earth since inception. It's outperformed everything. If you look at like your S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or Dow Jones, you can't compare growth potential. You can't compare scarcity, and you can't compare sovereign ownership. You own your Bitcoin. No one can take my Bitcoin from me. I can go anywhere in the world and I've got my Bitcoin. I've got my key phrases. So you just get yourself a cold storage wallet, create your own digital signature, put your Bitcoin in, and you own your wealth. Your money in the bank, you don't own. If something happens or goes wrong one day and you try to get all your money out, you've got to answer questions to them why you want your money. I don't want to have to ever ask anyone for access to my money. It's my money.
What can money never buy?
What can money never buy? Is this a trick question or just a normal one?
Just a normal philosophical question to close it off, Dil.
What can money never buy, Mike? Money can never buy happiness. Of course, you can have happy times with money. You can go rent a jet ski and eat good food. But I don't think no matter how much money you have is ever going to make you a good person or a better person. So what can money not buy? I'd say relationships and time. We can never turn back the time. Right now, at our stages in life, we're young, we want to take over the world, and that's what I want right now most. But I think in 20 years from now, the most, or 30 years from now when we're old boys, the only thing we're going to want is to be sitting here again at 26 and 27, and that's time. So I don't think money can ever, buy time, and we'll pay anything for that in 30 years' time. But right now, it's not what we want, because you feel like you got all the time in the world, right?
Beautiful answer.
Thanks,
I think we'll end it there. Thanks.
Awesome. Back at Tyler.
Let's face it, life is complicated, and so is the YouTube algorithm. We put so much effort into each of these episodes, and I honestly love what I do. And if you could do the smallest favor for me, it'll be quicker than making a cup of coffee. Just hit that subscribe button or like and follow on the audio channels. Thank you so much.